chair of this committee representing District 8. And this call the Land Use and UW Extension Committee meeting to order. We'll take the roll call.
Good morning, everybody. So Alan Barkstrom,
Here.
Michelle Dropnik, Doug Erickson,
Here.
Jason Hastings,
I'm here.
Okay.
Robert Kopish,
Here.
Larry Maves,
Here.
Rachel Hoffman.
All right. Now, we're going to have a public hearing this morning. So if you're going to speak into the topic on the public hearing, you should sign up over there. Anybody in the room could please do that. Be self-explanatory. Just gonna stop.
What if you're on the conference call? Can you speak at it?
We'll give those individuals who are online a prompt to say if you're here to speak for that public hearing, to
Okay.
unmute yourself at that time. So
Okay.
we'll prompt you.
Yeah, if there are any other people in the room or online that wants to speak at public comment for anything that's not on the agenda, now would be the time to do that. Anybody online wish to make any comments, public comments? Okay, hearing none. Any communications from any member of the committee? Any committee members wish to speak? Now would be the time to do that. Okay, hearing none, we're going to open the hearing. The time is 9:02, and this is a petition for zoning amendment filed by John Loma to rezone one parcel of land located in the town of Fifield, fire number N16466 Springstead Road. This petition is to rezone the parcel from A1 agricultural district to recreational residential.
Letters of notification were sent to Donald and Lori Schmitz, Jeffrey and Peggy Soldner, Sigmund and Mary Kaminsky, Eric and Rebecca Barbieri, Longview Realty LLC, USA Land, Gregory Volkman, Schmitz Living Trust, John Luoma, and Judy Reese, Town of Fifield.
We received 2 letters back commenting on this. The first one states, I oppose the rezoning for the following reasons. Land use has not changed, and using rezoning to skirt existing / current violations is not a way rezoning should be used. Question how this would affect the Cockrum Lake District covenants and conditions dated 10/4/1993 and filed with the Price County Register of Deeds that states setbacks of 10 feet for all properties. Would an amendment need to be needed for this property if it was rezoned? Who pays for that? What other legal implications would be possible with this zoning change? It seems to make more sense to rezone the entire district. It seems out of place to have one parcel in the development zone differently over the other 60 plus lots. And that's signed Don Schmitz. Second letter reads, seems like it makes more sense to rezone all the lots on the lake to avoid issues in future with setbacks, allowable wrecked vehicles, etc. And that was signed Lori Schmitz. And those were the letters of correspondence we received.
Is this a time, could I speak to that?
You go next.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, come out to the.
That's all
podium.
the letters from us, so yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about the rules of go to the podium, which you did, and then state your name and address in the municipality of residence, and then address the topic specified. You're going to have 3 minutes, and you're speaking to the board, not to anybody else, okay? And it's not a debate, just we want to hear your comments. So go ahead.
middle button.
Is that it? Is that it? Okay. My name is Mark Luma. I currently live at N 14579 Gerber Road on the Pike Lake chain. It was my property that I had sold to my son 5 years ago. And what I've recently learned is that there are only 3 lakes in Price County that are zoned agricultural. We all assumed they were residential recreational. And the ones that were developed by Taylor Investments, I guess they didn't rezone them. They were agriculture to begin with because Wyrie was a buffalo farm and Figgy's owned the Cochrane Lake area. But anyway, I assumed that the setbacks were 5 feet and 10 feet, like they are on all the other lakes except for those 3. And so about 13 or 14 years ago, I built a woodshed. All it is 4 4x4 posts with a roof, and I made it 6 feet off the line so that we were okay. My neighbor, the former neighbor now, is challenging that and saying they have to be 10 feet. So we had requested, my son had requested to be rezoned. There are at a minimum of 12 lots on Cochrane that people obviously thought they were residential recreation, and they built according to those setbacks. So there are homes that are not 20 feet off. There are garages and sheds that are not 10 feet off. They are closer. And so I had talked to Evan about it and asked if there was any way that could be, we could have the lot rezoned, and he had said, fill out the form, send in a check, and that would be discussed. But anyway, that's what my son is just asking, that his lot would be zoned just like all the other lake lots. Across the road from Cochrane is Whitcomb and Thompson Lake, and the setbacks there, it's zoned for residential recreation. And on the Pike Lake chain, we're residential recreation. But for some reason, just Cochrane Lake and Wyrie and what's the other one, Evan, over here? Price Lake or something? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Thank you.
mhm.
Yeah. Is there any questions from the committee? Have any questions for Mark? No. Does anybody else wish to speak to this petition? Now would be the time to do that. Anybody online? *6, unmute yourself.
I'd like to just add a couple of quick things. My name is Don Schmitz. What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Go ahead. We just needed your name and your location.
My name is Don Schmitz. I would reside at North 16464, next to the property in question. And I would just add to it that, as far as the Price County zoning has always been 10 feet, as well as it's noted in our Lake District covenants and conditions that every homeowner gets upon the purchase of the property, and that's dated back to 10/4 of 1993, and it shows and states the setbacks of 10 feet. And as I mentioned, my comments were read, I guess, at the beginning. Some of the issues that would reside would be legal implications of possible zoning changes on one lot within the 60+ lots on Cochrane Lake. For instance, mobile homes, are they allowed? Rental properties, taxes, etc. None of that has actually been fully talked about or explained to the rest of the residents, as well as if we need to make an amendment to our covenants to basically allow for this one individual lot. Mark was a member of the board, so he should be well informed as to what the setbacks were, so that shouldn't really be an issue. As far as when the structure was built, I've used the CGI mapping software that is available up on Price County, and I actually don't see the building structure in 2018. So I'm not 100% sure when it was built, but I would guess somewhere around 2017, 2018. I know that the zoning office indeed does not consider things that are over 10 years old. I would just ask where the building permits, if any, on any of the structures on that lot. And if rezoning is allowed, I would hope that somebody would basically check for the compliance of that new zoning on the property. That's
Okay.
about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Can I say one? Can I speak once more?
The woodshed was put up like a year after I retired. I retired in 2010.
2000 and what? 10?
2010.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak to this petition? Okay, hearing none, the time is 9:11. I'll declare the hearing closed. Agenda item number 4 is the decision on the petition for zoning amendment filed by John Loma. Anybody wish to make any comments?
I guess the only, with the rezone, the only comment I have is that it doesn't actually get approved at this level. You would forward the resolution to county board with a recommendation.
Okay,
So regardless, it goes to county board, just make you aware.
I got some questions for you, Evan.
Yeah, I do too.
When I know a little bit about zoning, you know, it happened, everything is zoned, I don't know when, several years ago. And if you drive down Danish Settlement, that all looks like ag land, so it's zone ag land. And if you have a subdivision, that would be zone residential. And if there's a hunting 40 somewhere, it looks like recreational to me.
RF1 is normally what those are.
So that's the history of the thing. And I don't know when all this
So-
land was zoned.
I can answer some of those questions quick
But
here.
as I look at this map, it doesn't look like ag land to me.
So the major ordinance amendment and everything took place in 1979. That's when a lot of the ordinances were developed, and there was a major revision done at that period. And that's when a lot of the zoning was assigned to parcels. In 1979, this whole lake area was one large chunk of ag forest. This subdivision and the lots weren't created on this till 1993, I believe, is when this was all created.
Okay, then I have a question right then.
Sure.
Okay, so something to that land, it used to be agriculture and then something changed.
Mhm.
It changed in, you said
93 is when that
93.
subdivision was
Now, it
created.
seems at that time, the assessor should have been engaged and he makes a determination to change it. What happened? Why wouldn't the assessor
I don't
change
know
that
why they
status?
didn't in 93. Actually, it would have come through the county. The county would have had to initiate the zoning change.
Well, should the
back-
assessor be engaged now?
Back in I want to say it was around 2006 through 8. It was prior to my time here.
I started in 2005 and it was prior to when I started here, but there was a comprehensive plan that was proposed. And a lot of people called it smart growth. That comprehensive plan would have rezoned properties like
That went out the
this.
window, didn't it? Smart
Right.
growth?
But the comprehensive plan was what would have rezoned properties such as this to be as they were, this
mean,
was
this
RR1.
is-
So it's just that it was never rezoned properly at that time because the county denied adopting a comprehensive plan.
This would have been addressed at that point. I can't answer to why it wasn't changed to RR1
This
in
is really
1993.
This is really getting confusing and there's some good points brought up in the public hearing.
Sure.
And is it now the time to consider that whole area to be rezoned with the advice and consent of the assessor?
Yeah, a person
I
could.
went through this
I guess
once
a person could look at that if the county wanted to choose to do as an amendment to the zoning ordinance. The county can initiate amendments to the zoning ordinance as well and rezone large chunks of property if the county so chooses. So that is an option.
I guess to Alan's point about the assessor, so when it's revaled, shouldn't that be all changed and? by
Well,
the
assessment
assessor?
and zoning are two different things.
So that's not this, the assessor just uses what it is zoned at, he doesn't change. the
Correct. If you
zoning?
looked at the assessment on these, it's gonna be assessed as residential. It's zoned ag, but assessed as residential.
Yeah.
Nick will pull up the tax data on this parcel, and I'm sure it's gonna say, what is that, 1.34 acres or 1.94?
1.96.
It's 1.94 on the.
So if you pull the tax data up there, it'll show
A1.
1.94 acres is residential, I'm sure.
It does. It's a G1 residential, 1.94 acres, 92,000 land, 123 improvement.
Wisconsin assessments go by use of the property, not how it's zoned. There are some states that assess based on zoning, but Wisconsin is a use-based assessment. There's commercial properties that are zoned residential, but they are assessed as commercial properties.
And there's also, RF recreational forest land that's assessed as ag. For example, if somebody has a sugar bush in forestry land, in land that's zoned forestry, it's assessed as ag, even though it's zoned forestry. So assessment and zoning are two separate things.
So the problem comes in, is there different setbacks for how the property is zoned?
Correct. The A1 district has a 10-foot accessory structure setback and a 20-foot dwelling setback. So that's where the problem lies here. And how large is the woodshed in question on this one?
Maybe like 8 by 12 or 15. It's just 4 by 4 posts with a roof over it.
So
Evan, do you have any recommendations that how to make this right? As far
I
as
mean, addressing this individual property on this
Sounds like
individual
that
application.
it sounds like, during the hearing, there's other properties that fall under the same category.
There's
Out of
the
compliance.
entire Byrie subdivision. I don't know if they're all out of compliance, but there's a lot of properties that are zoned A1 that if you took a closer look at them, they'd probably fit more in line with the RR1 district. I mean, there's got to be hundreds and hundreds of properties within the county. Yeah. Any newer subdivision, really. If you look at Pixley, Crowley, River Glen, a lot of those areas that were large forestry tracts were zoned ag at the time in 79, and they had subdivisions since, and now they should be RR1.
But we never really look at it as a problem because single family residency is a permitted use in the ag district. So the uses allow for residential uses. So that's why as a department, we don't view that as a problem with all these properties being zoned ag. It just happens that this one has an issue with the neighbor, and this is one way to accommodate for that setback issue.
Question. So would you just do this one at a time, or would you pursue doing the whole thing?
Yeah.
What's the right way
This
to-
one's got a lake district. If the lake district wanted to petition the county to rezone all of them, that might be a
the way to go?
good route.
But it would
to go.
require a petition to do that.
Sure.
Otherwise, we could still do this one, even though the covenants or
that's-
whatever say something different?
We don't, private restrictive covenants, we don't touch because we don't have any say on what goes on lots for private restrictive covenants. So that is not
Okay,
enforceable.
but the
for
zoning issue supersedes a covenant.
They're two separate issues. So private restrictive covenants are enforced through the circuit court. So if they violate a private restrictive covenant, somebody can take them to court for violating that private restrictive covenant. That zoning is totally aside from that.
Okay,
That answers your
but
question.
we could go ahead and do the zoning regardless of whatever it
Yeah,
says.
yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, this comes back to a similar issue to when somebody applied for a short-term rental on Cochrane Lake years ago. We didn't, and there's private restrictive covenants that don't allow short-term rental. We don't take any weight in that.
Right.
Because we don't touch private. restrictive
So the
covenants.
issue that the Lomas have with maybe their setback not being right, they could be taken to court on that?
Possibly. I'm not aware of what the private restrictive covenants are on Cochrane because we don't deal with
There
them.
might not be any restrictive covenants, but I think the current property owner, in good faith, made a structure that now is out of compliance.
That's long and the short of it, I guess.
So there was no bad faith in when that building was constructed.
I don't know. That's not. Yeah.
So your advice would be to proceed on this one issue separately and see what
And then if the
happens,
Lake
see what
Association-
happens with the rest of it.
And if the Lake Association wants to petition the county, they could bring a bunch of people and ask this committee to rezone that, and you guys could consider that and do a zoning amendment. And
Okay.
Sounds reasonable.
Yep. Okay.
That's, you could choose whatever parcel you want to rezone and rezone that. The county has the right to initiate a zoning amendment, similar to an ordinance change. This is the same thing, same process.
Are there any other comments from the committee on this petition?
I mean, this definitely isn't agriculture land, so I mean, it should be zoned that way and the setback should be the same way as the residential or recreational property, I believe.
And that is something we can consider in future meetings if you want
The
to.
Lake Association could bring that up and petition this body.
Yeah.
That's,
Alan. The only thing I want to bring up is we are showing maps, and just because the lines on the map are there does not mean that they overlap perfectly with the lot lines. So you can't say this is 6 or 8 or 10 feet based on the visual we're
well,
seeing.
it'd have
in
to
the
be a
real
survey.
world. Correct. It would be based on a certified survey, not on the computer telling us that it looks or measures based on the overlay.
They're approximate.
Their approximate lines, correct.
Their guideline.
Yes.
Do you have a certified survey on this plot?
The original ones that were put in with the four corners, I had spoken with a surveyor who had come in, and it would have cost $2,000 to $3,000 to do the whole thing. But he did tell me that, he said, there's a ribbon in that tree right there. Did you put it there? I said, no, my neighbor did. He said, that's just about right where the line is, just based upon his, looking with his equipment.
So
But
all
he
the
didn't-
lots would
He
have to
did
be
not put
surveyed.
any markers on it.
You'd be able to find the four corner posts on these lots, but to find the lines, yeah, you'd have to have a surveyor mark the line.
Okay, there is a resolution that I don't believe was printed out and handed to everybody. I did get it online, but it's a resolution to approve.
There is a copy that will go around based on your vote. So this
Are you ready to deal with that?
would get forwarded to county board, and then the full county
Well, we
board
should-
would have a kick at it too at that point.
If you're ready, I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I'm looking for a motion to approve, and then we can have further discussion.
Yeah, I will make the motion to approve the resolution as presented and forwarded to the county board.
I will second that.
You got that? Motion by Bob, seconded by Doug Erickson to approve. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jason?
Aye.
Okay. Motion is approved. What?
So you have to say all opposed, just
Oh,
For
okay. I forgot that.
formalities.
Is there anybody opposed to this resolution? Signify by saying aye. Hearing none, resolution is approved.
Which one should we sign? You got the original?
There you go.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, it's time is 9:25. And
Hey, Alan.
we're going, yeah,
It just said the host has left the meeting and it's gonna end in 5 minutes.
did anybody hear that?
I heard it, but I didn't understand it.
I didn't understand, sir. Would you,
I think that's Jason.
who's speaking?
Yeah, I just, it spoke and said that the host has left the meeting and the meeting's gonna end in 5 minutes.
I already fixed it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, the time is 9:25. Open the hearing for conditional use permit filed by Teresa Ball for the purpose of renting a home on a short-term basis on
Moving
property
forward.
located in town of Fifield,
All we
fire
gotta do
number
is move
in
the host.
14902 Calmerton Drive. Is there anybody that wishes? Okay,
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll read the
all right.
letters. Letters of notification were sent to Daniel Buntrock, James and Christy Byer, Roger and Kathy Block, Scott and Amy Christian, Dave and Joan Thompson, Leo and Susan Kelmerton, Sandra Plyer, Teresa Ball, Matthew and Valerie Langenhan, and Judy Reese with the town of Fifield. If anyone is looking at the mailing list, there's also this Edward and Lucille Krasowski with no address. Apparently, their name is on the private road, but there's no ownership or no address listed. So I tried to send it to them, but they did not receive that notification because I contacted the treasurer's office and they don't, it's not like a taxable
this our
parcel,
age, Dennis?
so they don't have
Yep.
an address for that.
Jason wants to talk.
Well, that's all right.
No, I think Jason, you're just unmuted. We can hear you talking.
Okay, I will mute myself.
Is there any responses to the notification, Evan? No responses. No responses. Okay, does anyone wish to speak to this petition? In the room? I will. Go up to the mic.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Ball. I am the owner of the Calmerton Drive home. I've had it just for a year. I am just looking at doing this very short term, just maybe 1 or 2 times a month to bring a little revenue into Price County. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of my intentions.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak to the petition? Okay, the time is 9:28. Close the hearing on that particular permit. Agenda item number 7 is the decision on the conditional use permit filed by Teresa Ball.
Evan, you see any issues, any extra?
No, we've got the inspection report. It's a 2-bedroom mound. So they'd be looking at a max of 4 renters that they'd be able to advertise for at a time, which is standard in the conditions.
The
But
petitioner understands that.
I would, yeah. And she'll also receive a certified letter stating those conditions in it.
Okay,
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve.
motion by Bob Kopish to approve,
I'll second.
seconded by Michelle Drobnik. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying